What's going on? What's Saturday?
I like
The special effects on this are crazy.
A is for amphetamines. B is for blue.
Hi, what's your name? What's your basketball name?
They call me Professor.
I just Robbie, I guess.
Comedian.
Robbie.
I'm Ben and M.
What's your basketball name? What's your basketball name?
When I play, they call me Splash.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious.
Because you're always on the floor when people cross you up.
C is for code switching. D is for drums.
The other day I saw a spider on my wall. I watched it crawl to the ceiling. Thought to myself, being small looked appealing. No billing receipts, was chilling and sleeping, resting on the windowsill creeping. But see, the problem is policy and politics always play a role no matter where you go or how you live. Some play to cut, some climb, others recline in summertime. None of us outside when sun is shining.
You are now looking at the face of someone who is about to graduate. Tell us, how does it feel to be graduating after 2 long years?
Well, it's exciting. I can't believe I finally made it.
Who do you credit to being able to graduate through these 2 years?
Well, the list is long. As they say, I stand on many people's shoulders.
E is for education.
I didn't really understand what my education was like until afterwards, until after I got out of high school. And I started picking up books on my own and then finding out that a lot of things I learned in school were not, in fact, true. And that did not sit well with me. school systems historically have put limitations on how people choose to struggle. We need to change the vocabulary and how we view slavery, not using the term slave, but enslave, not using plantations, but prison labor camps. How we teach it has to change because it becomes very, it eats at a young child's person. You know, Montclair is very diverse. It's diverse as far as race is concerned. Different minority groups are here, but it's also diverse in class. And about 4 years ago, a group of teachers got together and created a group, Teachers Undoing Racism Now. We wanted to continue the conversation about teachers themselves, looking within themselves to undo racism, but also start to look at ways that we can protect Black and brown kids. We have a teacher trip to Washington, D.C., to the African American Museum and to the Blacks and Whites Museum. This year, we're working with the superintendent to get Juneteenth placed on the calendar, to take Columbus Day off the calendar and replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day. But also, what we're looking at doing is trying to make it more comfortable for Black parents and brown parents to come to the school to find out about their kids. All power to the people. My name is Rodney Jackson, activist, social studies teacher, Renaissance Middle School, about 20 years.
Hi. Hi. And here's Uncle Blake.
Hey, what's that? Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's a white Christmas.
It's a white Christmas.
White Christmas.
With a bunch of Black people.
Boyfriend.
I messed it up, sorry.
He said, come on.
F is for family.
When we was at Motown, after rehearsal, everybody went out to eat. Mary Gordy said, everybody's going bowling. We sisters came from Monongahela, Pennsylvania. There was one bowling alley. Blacks were not allowed. Didn't know what to do. We had never been inside of a bowling alley before. My mother always taught us, you don't know what to do, be a good listener.
G is for garden.
We ain't gotta explain it to people that don't love us. The blues is more better, the food is more butter.
My name is Francis. I use she, they. I'm a Black Puerto Rican from the South Bronx. I am an urban farm worker and a community organizer. Yeah, it is. It's easy for us to just see our food, right? We go to the supermarket and the food is there, but we aren't really having a conversation or taking into consideration or even acknowledging all of the Black and brown people at every point of the food system who can't even afford the food that they're growing. It's not a food desert, it's actually food apartheid because it's intentional. It's not just a natural thing that Black and brown and poor and over-policed neighborhoods also don't have access to fresh food, to affordable fresh foods that are nutrient dense. It's calculated. It's the people in power who are deciding, the people in power who make money off of our sickness. So I think it's important for us to pan out from the individual and really look at the institutional, the structural racism that's happening that makes it so that people in power, the politicians who get to decide the rezoning, right? It's really important to see the inaccess to fresh food as an apartheid, as a calculated thing that is being put in place by the people in power. Woke Foods is a woman-run food service worker-owned cooperative. So right off the bat, we're a worker-owned co-op. We are not a traditional hierarchical, oppressive business structure. So we're thinking about how do we shop locally, how do we eat food that's seasonal so that we're not participating in this food system that brings food from all over the country. By the time it gets to us, it's already starting to die. We need to pan out a little further and know how to grow all the food and be able to support people and not even just learning how to grow the food, but how to remember how to grow food. Because a lot of us, we have this information within us. If all that is stripped away and we're just human beings on this planet, like what's going to be my contribution?
H is for herringbone. I is for intellectual property.
I guess for me, the time at which I began to come into the understanding of you know, the value of my own intellectual property was around the time that I experienced, you know, what it felt like to have that sort of taken away, or to have that, you know, property in someone else's hands. You know, I'm often asked, you know, what advice I would give to young people or, you know, upstarts in the industry, young creatives. And, you know, what I always say off the bat is to maintain ownership of that property, of your intellectual property, of your art, for as long as possible. Tell me who the realest of them all.
J is for jealousy. K is for karma.
Jackie Graham with Set Me Free, and on to Curtain Starliner, otherwise known as Aura, and You and Me tonight.
I may not be the man that I wanna be, but I'm sure not the man that I used to be.
L is for language.
My relationship with language is always going to be an assertion. So I'm asserting my right to be within the world. I'm asserting that my perspective has value. And yeah, I'm asserting my existence in a lot of ways. What drew me to writing is reading and experiencing so much beautiful art, and realizing that there are a million ways to tell a story. And I think that we're often told that there's only one way. So either we're told that there's only one way to tell a story, or there's only one story worth being told. Mm-hmm. And both of those things are lies. So code switching is so ingrained in Black folks in the South because we're living in relatively segregated areas. And then in addition to that, because, you know, upward mobility is a goal of all, you know, the Black middle class and whatnot, your parents try to get you in spaces that are different than where you're from. Yeah. And in doing so, you have to learn how to go back and forth. I sound different when I'm at home. Like my accent gets deeper, because you probably don't hear anything now, but my accent reanimates, my diction changes because certain words don't make sense or don't mean the same things here that they do there. What was beautiful about being in Philly as a young adult, as a young person, was experiencing so much of life outside of the classroom. Philly is a decidedly Black city. Experiencing particularly Philly's poetry scene helped to like buoy that spirit of ingenuity and authenticity. Philly's also gonna tell you if you bullshitting. So the beautiful thing about being Black is like learning new dialects and learning new ways of existing in the world. Like, there's no way that I would be using the word John if I didn't live in Philly. John is a beautiful word because it's so expansive. Black voices bend around the word. Like, all of these
slight changes
to like something that is like, to us, universal. You know, that shit is beautiful. My name is Ivy Soul. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a non-binary femme human using she, they pronouns. And I am happy to be alive.
M is for mirror.
You're not being your real self in a lot of situations, and then that breeds resentment and bitterness, and now you're taking shit out on people who haven't done anything to you, you know, because of how you feel about yourself.
N is for nappy.
Must be bugging, hey, gotta be bugging out, you bugging out, bugging out,
My name is Keith White. I'm an attorney by trade. I do civil rights, federal litigation, criminal and civil, as well as intellectual property. I'm an advocate, activist, and father and husband, you know, and all the things.
And where you from?
I'm from Brownsville. I'm from the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. I lived in Brownsville for the first 28 years of my life. I had never been in a white space before law school. I grew up in Brownsville. I went to school at John Jay with a bunch of other minoritized members of my community. I went to I went to church. I was in all of these black spaces. It was not until law school that I was in this white space and I felt enraged to say something. When I was in law school, Amadou Diallo was shot, and there were 41 shots fired into his vestibule. He was unarmed. And when I went to school and I tried to talk about it, it was silence. There was like a deafening silence around it. The next day I went to school, I had a white t-shirt, and I wrote 41 shots in red ink. If no one's gonna talk about it, I'm gonna make everyone as uncomfortable as I am. So it wasn't necessarily organizing in the sense that we think about, but it was the first time that I felt like I needed to say something about something that happened in my community, that no one else was talking about in a white space. We decided to come together and collectively become the Brooklyn Combine because we saw a void in community, and we wanted to create that for ourselves, and we wanted to create that for the larger community around us. And so that's really what the Brooklyn Combine is. So we get together, we provide mentoring services in Red Hook, Brownsville, East New York, and Bed-Stuy. We also provide advocacy services. A couple of weeks ago, a few guys were sitting on my stoop. They were working on the building next door. They were sitting on my stoop, some black guys. I opened the door, and they immediately jumped up, and they were like, "Oh, my bad, sorry." And I was like, nah, y'all can sit. Y'all want something to drink? What's your names? I'm just checking in. I'm seeing how y'all doing. And the tenor of the conversation completely changed from something that could have been antagonistic to community. And I think that a lot of times, white people haven't just been programmed to think negatively about black interaction. We've been taught, we've been programmed. How we start seeing it, how we see each other is really incredibly important. We start spending more time revolutionizing concepts and principles of liberation and freedom within ourselves. It allows us to go out and organize with folks that are outside of our immediate perspective, you know?
Bugging out, y'all. This grown man talking. Don't go telling your mama. Don't go running up in the house like you scared of a monster. Stick your chin up, go do some chin-ups. You skinny, I hope she finna make spinach for dinner. Under your skin like a splinter. At night I dream about living above the rim like a spinner. But chances I make the league is getting slimmer than a Jim or Eminem or Kendall Jenner. Rival or Pepsi spread all on a dresser. America, God.
P is for play fight.
Gotta smile like your mama. Can't keep a woman. Baby, can't keep a promise. I used to act so shady. Baby, at least I'm being honest. All of my aunties throwing shade like all of my uncles playing spades like tears in my eyes when we play.
Q is for questions.
Oh. Oh my God. Do you think he's real?
You don't know yet.
Oh no.
I don't know.
R is for rich.
We can start now.
We can start now.
Yeah, let's just kind of feel one out and see how it feels.
Okay. You know what? I wanted you to know about some of our family history. Your father's grandfather was a very stubborn man, and his name was Marshall Jones. He had all this land, and his main crop was cotton. And he planted all this cotton, and when the harvest time came, he got the cotton and put it in bales and had it stacked all around the house and in the yard, and it was ready to go to market to go to sell. And he wouldn't sell, and all the farmers and even his sons told him, you got to sell, because they are predicting a rainy season. He said, I'm not selling, he said, because I'm going to wait for the price to go up. So he was a very stubborn old man. And he thought he knew better than anybody else,
Of course.
It didn't go up, but the rain came down and destroyed all of his cotton. He lost a fortune then. And then he started trying to recoup. But he sold some of his land and made a few other bad business deals, and my husband always said if his grandfather had done the right thing, had sold the cotton when it should have been sold, all of us would have been, in a better position and would have been wealthy.
Look at this nigga.
S is for sour belts.
I crossed, all of them wishes I tossed in the well. I need a ride for my pops. I need to buy some eye drops. Piece of mind, piece of pie. Can't even sleep, my cyclops quite a lot. Blindfolded origami. Order sushi, pouring sake out. Gorgeous view from the roof. More confusions from your cotton mouth. Easter eggs turning rotten now. Throwing toilet paper, porta potty mouth. Made the morning paper, can't afford to save a single cent. Counting every second like they sang for rent. Mama say y'all don't know how to act. Over my shorty, get back to school. Keys jingle, Chris crinkle out the back. Never understood how a fat nigga made it down the chimney in the first place. My first taste of dust came placed inside a honey Dutch. We was watching bubbles blossom buttercup. Can't lose my mojo. Rain was too loco. I'm banging with Weezy. The pain in his vocals remind me of Stevie. I'm steaming like cocoa. It's almost 2:45. Yeah. Do you still got the quarter for G? Yeah.
Why blame it on my makeup? Won't save me from my nature. Yeah. Won't shade me from this rainbow.
T is for time.
Shorty look like a Siberian dog, bro.
Like you're with no life.
Bro, you look like the broke version of Captain Crunch, bro.
You like a pubic hairbrusher.
You not slick, bro. You not slick, bro.
What time is it?
Time for you to get a watch.
Hold up, bro. Where'd he go?
See, I don't know, bro. His mother don't play that. Keep it a buck.
For sure.
U is for underground.
Hello. How do I relate to people opening up to me? I look at it as an honor. What I do as a therapist is kind of like a midwife. So I'm holding people's hand as they're laboring and going through some of the most challenging things in their lives. How I became a therapist is kind of a winding road of a story. But long story short, in 2009, I was Miss New Jersey and went on to the Miss USA pageant, and I experienced a lot of criticism just being on that platform. A lot of anxiety and perfectionism and things that I had to work through. So through that experience and also talking to a lot of millennials that compare themselves a lot to other people, compare themselves to their peers, I know what it's like, and it makes me more empathetic because I've been on that end. And not even from that experience though, just being a human, like you know what it's like to feel criticized, you know what it's like to be picked apart, you know what it's like to wonder, am I good enough? There's this idea that if you're in therapy, you must be crazy. But that's not what therapy is. You know, it's really a form of self-care. Some of it is cultural. You know, for Black people in particular, you know, there's this idea of we keep things in the family and in the home. And letting someone else that's not in the family into your personal issues, that's not what we do. Let's say, speaking from my own family, I think that there are a lot of members of my family, older members, that are more hesitant to participate in therapy, even though they might clearly need it because of the stigma. But I think working with a culturally competent therapist that understands the value of family and understands the role that plays in how you show up in therapy is really important. In more recent years, in the past maybe 2 years or so, there's been a shift in the Black community around mental health. All of that has driven, you know, more Black people to finding therapists that look like them, and it's been a great thing. I think we all need to be able to do that and be vulnerable.
Ladies and gentlemen, whatever your take on this piece of art is, it's still a piece of art.
W is for world.
One of the posters up all over the block. How you supposed to pose for the photos when I was taking the shots? Got them bars, don't win the phone for the ride. Sweet to sweet, probably belong in a cocktail with some schnapps. School of hard knocks on the lessons, I won't forget it. My energy so kinetic, my enemy so pathetic. They stealing my whole aesthetic, I'm keeping it copacetic. And that's only the tip of the frozen lettuce. I'll remember keeping right this blame. One star!
X is for Xerox.
She said, you have a rich man's family. He's at the boy first and the girl second. They wanted that boy to carry on the family name. And then what was so amazing, that my son had a son.
And your daughter had a daughter.
And he'd take all the kids in Montclair 1 hour away to the swimming pool. A black swimming pool. Right. To South Montclair.
Y is for yard.
You can just keep that.
For real? Thank you.
I really wanna be your lover. Z is for zip code.
This is for the South End, the 4th Ward, Uptown, Frog Hollow, the 6 corners, the 6 square miles that once held my universe, showing my cousins how the computer works, the alphabet for all the poker chips. This time I ante up, this time I ran it up. This trauma can't be over-dramatized for white critics to verify if he's authentic. This is for Jefferson's Cafe, the Wood Pit, Crockett's Fish Fries, sweet potato and pecans. We swore up and down, they sprinkle crack cocaine in the yam sauce. Never too much, Luther Vandross, me and all my insecurities in a Mexican standoff. But shit, who else could avenge the death of every little saint in the dance off? This is for DJ J Hood, Unique, DJ Frosty, DJ Lil Man, and of course the legendary Tim, the dollar. To this day, my heart probably beats at 130 BPMs. If a young lady chose to throw it, then my friends held my back so it wouldn't bend. See, y'all I had to be there to even comprehend. This is for Lackawanna Plaza, the Mecca, the Casa. Against all odds, caught my first white tee while my mom bought crab legs from the Pathmark. Y'all could go ahead, tear it down, and get the people at Trader Joe's if you want to. Now it's okay, it's immortalized. This is for my fam, this is for the tribe, this is fortified, this is forever, this is for a guy in 07042. This is for you. Who am I? I love you.
Later, honey. Love you too.
Bye.
I think I'm finally finding me. My whole life has been odyssey. I used to suffer in silence. I never showed you that side of me. I need money to be made, and I just want it right now. Please get down or light down when I'm in the grave. I need everything iced out. Dying is a lifestyle. Money to be made, and I just want it right now. Please get down or light down when I'm in the grave. I need everything iced out. Dying is a lifestyle. Told you I was gonna beat your ass one day. Please hold me back, I'ma slap him in his face. He touched my girlfriend, that's disrespect. I swung, he ducked and pushed me through the death. Wildest drama, you know my mama, been in my casa when we was young. You were the golden child I should copy. Everyone said to be like Natural One. Problems with you, look, I do not want, but I am a man, so I got a flaunt. Or they gonna call me a punk. This morning I bought me a pump. I'm cycling through memories. Hindsight is 20/20 clean. Now you got me backpedaling. Psychiatrist not helping me. Your childhood not so heavenly. There's hell to pay, my L to take. I make it through, I celebrate. Why celebrate? There's money to be made.